For decades, the Philippine Air Force stood at a crossroads, caught between rising regional tensions, aging equipment, and limited defense budgets. The country's ability to project credible air power remained constrained, not by ambition, but by circumstance. While neighboring nations raced ahead with advanced fighter fleets and modern air combat doctrines, the Philippines was forced to make do with incremental upgrades, symbolic deterrence, and carefully chosen partnerships. But history does not remain static forever. In recent years, something has quietly begun to change. Step by step, deal by deal, training sortie by training sortie, the Philippine Air Force has been laying the foundation for what could become the most consequential leap in its modern history. And now, according to multiple defense and regional security reports highlighted by Bayan Watchdog, a new aircraft is emerging at the very center of that transformation: South Korea's KF-21 BRP. Once considered an ambitious national project, the KF-21 is now increasingly viewed as a serious contender, perhaps even the frontrunner, to win the Philippine Air Force's long-awaited multi-role fighter acquisition project. If selected, this decision would do far more than add new jets to the inventory. It could fundamentally reshape the country's air power posture across the Indo-Pacific for decades to come. And this is not just another fighter jet story. This is a story about momentum, trust, financing, timing, and strategic alignment, and why all those forces appear to be converging at exactly the right moment for both Manila and Seoul. To understand why the KF-21 is now in such a strong position, you have to look backward before you look forward. More than a decade ago, the Philippine Air Force made a decision that, at the time, seemed modest, but would later prove transformative. The acquisition of the FA-50PH light combat aircraft from Korea Aerospace Industries was not merely about buying jets. It was about rebuilding confidence, restoring supersonic capability, and reintroducing a modern training-to-combat pipeline. The FA-50 quickly became the backbone of the Philippine Air Force's tactical aviation. It served as a lead-in fighter trainer, a light strike platform, and a symbol of renewed capability after years without supersonic fighters. Filipino pilots trained on it. Filipino ground crews maintained it. Filipino planners learned to integrate it into real-world operations. And most importantly, it worked. The FA-50 proved reliable, adaptable, and well-suited to the Philippines' operational environment. Over time, it created something far more valuable than hardware: institutional familiarity. From logistics chains to maintenance procedures, from training philosophies to mission planning systems, the Philippine Air Force became deeply accustomed to Korean aerospace design and support ecosystems. This matters more than many casual observers realize. Air forces do not simply buy aircraft. They buy entire ecosystems, training syllabi, simulators, spare parts networks, software updates, weapons integration roadmaps, and decades-long sustainment plans. Once an air force is embedded within a particular ecosystem, switching partners becomes more complex, more expensive, and more risky. By the time discussions around a true multi-role fighter began to accelerate, the Philippines already had something few competitors could offer: a proven, working relationship with South Korea's aerospace industry. This journey is about moving from symbolic defense to credible deterrence. According to defense analyses cited by Bayan Watchdog, the Philippine Air Force's multi-role fighter requirement is expected to fall in the range of 12 to 24 aircraft. That number is not accidental. It signals a clear shift in mindset. This is no longer about symbolic capability, about owning a handful of jets for prestige or minimal air policing. A force of that size suggests credible deterrence, sustained operations, and real combat relevance. 1 or 2 squadrons of modern multi-role fighters would allow the Philippine Air Force to conduct air defense, maritime strike, surveillance support, and limited power projection with far greater effectiveness than ever before. And that brings us to the KF-21 BRP. So what makes the KF-21 different? Often described as a 4.5+ generation fighter, the KF-21 occupies a unique position in modern air combat. It bridges the gap between legacy 4th-generation aircraft and full 5th-generation stealth fighters. It is not an F-35, but that is precisely the point. The KF-21 was designed with balance in mind, balancing performance, survivability, growth potential, and cost. It features an advanced AESA radar, modern electronic warfare systems, secure network-centric combat capabilities, and a design philosophy optimized for future upgrades. For a country like the Philippines, this balance is critical. Full stealth platforms offer extraordinary capabilities, but they also come with extraordinary costs: financial, logistical, and political. The KF-21 offers a more realistic path to modernization without overwhelming existing defense structures. It is powerful enough to matter, advanced enough to deter, flexible enough to evolve, and crucially, it is being developed by the same industry partner that already supports the FA-50 fleet. This familiarity equals speed and safety. From a transition standpoint, the KF-21 offers something priceless: reduced risk. Pilots transitioning from FA-50s would already be familiar with Korean avionics philosophies. Ground crews would adapt faster to maintenance procedures. Command structures would integrate the aircraft more smoothly into existing control and communication systems. This could translate into faster operational readiness, lower training costs, and fewer surprises during deployment. In military procurement, uncertainty is expensive. Familiarity is efficiency. But performance alone does not win fighter deals. Money does. This brings us to the financing factor, which is the silent game changer. Advanced fighter aircraft are expensive, and for many nations, the challenge is not identifying the best platform, but finding a way to pay for it without undermining other defense priorities. This is where South Korea may hold one of its strongest cards. According to reporting highlighted by Buy-in Watchdog, South Korea is prepared to offer flexible export financing options for a potential KF-21 acquisition. This includes structured payment plans, export credit arrangements, and long-term financing mechanisms tailored to the buyer's fiscal realities. And the timing could not be better. The 2026 General Appropriations Act, signed into law by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., explicitly allows for foreign and domestic financing arrangements for major defense acquisitions. This growing relationship reflects shared interests in regional stability, freedom of navigation, and a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. Unlike some suppliers, South Korea's approach emphasizes partnership, training, and long-term collaboration rather than simple transactional sales. That matters. It builds a foundation of trust and mutual support that lasts for decades. This potential acquisition would be a statement to the region and to the future. If the Philippine Air Force ultimately selects the KF-21 Borame, the message would be unmistakable. It would signal to allies that the Philippines is serious about defending its airspace. It would signal to potential adversaries that decades of limitation are coming to an end. And it would signal to its own citizens that national defense is once again a strategic priority. More importantly, it would demonstrate a commitment to systems designed not just for today, but for 30 to 40 years of service. This is not about chasing trends. It is about rebuilding capability with intention. And as Buy-in Watchdog continues to monitor developments in the multi-role fighter acquisition program, one thing is becoming increasingly clear: the KF-21 Borame is no longer just a possibility. It is a serious contender, arriving at exactly the right moment in Philippine defense history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on this developing story and more insights into regional defense. See you in the next video.